Okay, so we got a good group of people who are logged in, and hopefully everybody can see the screen and hear my voice. I'm going to go ahead and get started, and there will be opportunity for Q&A at the end. I'm going to linger just for a minute in the question section, but if you have something during the course, I'll try to get to those and monitor it as I'm going along. So please use the question section down in the on the app, and I will try to monitor that as I go. And just remember, we are recording all of this, so we hopefully, as long as the recording works, sometimes it doesn't. So we are, somebody's asking for breakfast already. This is not a full service webinar. Okay, so here we go. Yep, so this is Matthew Rathbun. Thank you guys for jumping in there. And this is a Coldwell Banker Elite webinar. And so we're going to be talking about some of our tools and resources as we go along. This is the inaugural. This is the first of, I think, 6 or 7 in a series that Deb Ellis has put together for us on listings. And we just finished up. And if you haven't taken it already, go check out the lead gen rather. So elitescoop.com/lead gen. To check out. I'm sorry, I'm hearing myself in the voice. Let me adjust this real quick. Go ahead in the headset. Okay, better. All right, so go check that out on elitescoop.com/lead gen, and you can see the series we just finished of 8 videos that are focused on generating and converting leads. This one is going to be on listings, this series here, and we're going to do it in several sections. And so at the end, I'll give you the link to where this video is going to be posted, and all the links and all the web pages and things that I mentioned during our time this morning will be linked there. So if you miss something, if I go through a slide too quickly, that's okay. I'm going to put the link underneath the video recording and everything else on the web page like we did the prior system. So here we go. So this is the first of this series, and this particular session is on just being prepared. Now, we've done these in a very specific order, so the next session after this is getting leads. And I know that may sound somewhat counterintuitive, but the mentality we had was getting all your stuff ready and in order is going to help make the confidence build a little bit better when you're generating those opportunities and going out and meeting with the consumer. So this is just a quick lesson on a few things that we've done as listing agents, and I've seen successful agents do to be prepared so that your focus is on the consumer when you walk in the door. So you get the listing appointment and someone that says, hey, can you come sell my home? Either it's a conversion online, it's a friend or family member or a church referral or something like that. And now the checklist goes through your head of all the stuff you think you need to do. So we're going to focus today on a few things that you can have prepared prior to the interview. So like I said, the next session in this series will be getting the listing. The one after that will be how do I interview and how do I convert, and then we'll go on from there. And this one we're going to focus on just being prepared as a listing agent. And so prior to getting into leadership roles, and even while in some leadership roles over the years, I was a fairly high-performing listing agent. I preferred listings. That was my focus, and my conversion and sale rate was pretty high. So the things that we're talking about today are things that I've actually done as a listing agent that worked well, which is why we're focused on them. So winning the listing is not happening at the interview level much anymore. Sometimes you don't even get the appointment if you haven't done all the preliminary stuff that you need to do in order to win the opportunity. Sometimes if they find they're interviewing more than one agent, which statistically we know is on the increase, that we have gone, according to NAR statistics, from a seller interviewing one person and going with them to now interviewing about 3, and that number has increased pretty quickly over the past 5 to 6 years. As far as statistical analysis, it's an epidemic, if you will, of sellers lining up more than one person in an appointment. And even if you know the seller, even if you have gone to church with them, friends with them, your mom referred you, whatever it is, you have to assume that they are still talking to other people, even if they tell you you're not. That doesn't mean they don't run into somebody they know that is now in real estate. So every appointment should be handled with the utmost professionalism and intentionality to get that listing and set up a good showing. I also wanted to point out that the more prepared you are up front, the more the consumer sees that you're different than the other agents, that you've done a little bit more work or you're more polished or professional, the easier it is not only to get that listing, but to keep it. It takes away the thought in their mind that there may have been better agents out there. They should have interviewed more if you're not getting the home sold quickly enough, or they're just getting frustrated. So here's what happens. Very oftentimes, you and I get that appointment, and we're thinking about, in our heads, we're thinking about, okay, I've got to get my CMA together, I got to get my brochures together, I got to get all this stuff done and put it squared away for that appointment. And you wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, hopefully you wake up well before then, but you're ready at 9 o'clock in the morning thinking about that 6 p.m. listing appointment. You're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and do the market analysis. And then life happens and 4,000 things stack up. And now it's 4:30. You've got a 6 o'clock appointment. And you're like, screw it. I'm just going to go to the appointment and chat with them. I'll email them the market analysis and material later. And you may have lost a tremendous opportunity. But not only that, you get flustered. And whether you are a good person at pulling yourself together, even when you're flustered and not showing it, it still shows. Let me just tell you, it still will come across as a nuance or something that the consumer may pick up on that you didn't even know you were putting out there. So being squared away, having everything in order, making sure that life is good is now the time to do it. And I noticed on our webinar, we've got a fairly heavy mix of experienced agent versus inexperienced agents. All of these statements are true regardless of where you are. And so I just came back from the Inman conference and heard some really good sessions there. But one of the things that came out to me most was something that Lee Brown said. If you guys haven't had a chance to listen to her, she's fantastic, one of my favorites. And Lee said, the consumer is the one who doesn't want to do business the way we did it 30 years ago. The agents are the ones fighting that mentality. And it's true. Even your consumers you've worked with, sellers you worked with in the past, or buyers, are still having increased expectation and incorporating different tools and resources by the nature of our world and culture that they may not have the last time you worked with them. So we are going to be talking, first segment of this is just things we need to have in order before the first meeting, and then we'll end the session with some materials you take with you during that appointment. So the first one is that your online persona is the first real meeting. So it's not the time you're sitting there in front of them at their house doing the walkthrough, and that's again a different session we'll do in the series. It really has to do with them engaging online and seeing things differently. So even if they know you, they may be checking out the kind of work and listings that you've done, and are you the right choice for them? But certainly if they're an online lead, you absolutely know that they have already checked out some of these things. So your persona online, who you are online and how you handle yourself, is going to be the first step. So I believe that you should have a web page. This is not a new observation, but every agent should have a web page and have some online presence. And you should have a section for sellers, things to keep them busy and engaged. So part of this process for me, is to make sure that I have the send ahead, and we'll talk a little bit about that later, but it has something for the clients to go and do to already start to show them a little bit different. Now, a lot of the things that we're going to, and you all know I'm a little bit different, a lot of things we're going to talk about in our hour today is set it and forget it stuff. In other words, things that you can do, you can set up, you can have in place, and then you can just focus on that appointment that you have at 6 p.m. today and not have to stress about all the others. So part of that starts with just your own online presence. So having a web page and having information for sellers. And you can see here, I've got a self-help tool to check out your house value, which you can actually do on Cloud CMA, and I'm going to go through that in a little bit. A block here on, and you can click the button to get there, on how we market your home, some things we're going to do differently to already get that seller kind of in the mindset of some things to ask us about and be somewhat familiar with us during that appointment. Some things you can do to get your home for sale. If you're a FSBO, what do you need to know? Service providers to help you get yourself up and running. Smart home information, because those are certainly things that we're going to be talking about or the consumer should be somewhat familiar with. And if I can get them to bookmark this page and come back to it more than once, I've already started building engagement and rapport with my online persona. In your online bio, this is important. And a lot of you, you kind of joke with me about this, that I take it a little too seriously. But I have met with many sellers that have cited or referenced things in the bio on my webpage that I did not say to them in the forefront. And so I feel pretty strongly about this, as well as a video bio. Those are two different things, and both need to be present. And a send ahead, and we'll talk about how we do that later. A send ahead to that seller is going to be an introduction to who you are, and that introduction is going to be both by video and written word. People interpret things differently, and having both there allow them to choose which one they would rather do, whether to read or to watch the video, although they may be very similar. Additionally, the online bio on your web page should be content rich and have enough story there for Google to index for people who are looking for a listing agent in Fredericksburg. And that's a different session, but those are things that you should consider when you're writing the bio. We have in the past, and I've posted today, done a video, a webinar on bios and how important they are and some things to consider. And so if you go to elitescoop.com listing leader, which is this series where all these videos and webinars will be posted, I've put the bonus session on bios there. So if you haven't listened to that before, it gets a lot of good feedback. So I feel like it's a good place for you guys to start, whether you're new agents or experienced. And as I say that, just a reminder, if you're an experienced agent, the world has been changing. So it's time to kind of refocus our business. What has worked in the past may not continue to work. So hopefully some of these things will give you stuff to consider and add to your list. All right. Also, your Zillow and Realtor.com profiles are really important. Now, Jay, who's there on the left, and then Poppy, who's our content strategist, you can see on the right, they have both been talking to you guys for a while now. And Jay's been with us for just a short period of time, and I still feel like he's been already with us talking about this for a while. The importance of having this set up not just for lead generation, right? That's the primary focus, but it's also good for, in our intents and purposes here, it's also good for your consumers to be able to check on you. So if I were listing my home today and I have been acclimated to Zillow, because remember we've got that journey that the sellers go through, and we'll talk about that in a different session when we go to interviews, and talk about the profile of a seller and why a lot of those things matter. But they've been looking online for a long time. That seller is from 1 to 2 years been planning on selling their home, and of course they've been to Zillow and probably to Realtor to check and see what the value of their home is, what their market and community is doing, etc. And so when they're doing that, they become accustomed to these sites, they begin to trust these sites, and that may be where they go to see what other business you've done as an agent. They're going to go check and see what your listings you currently have and what you have sold and what do those reviews look like online. So getting these personas up and running are pretty important. And for Zillow especially, we as Coldwell Elite pay for premium and premier placement on those two sites. On Zillow, you also want to consider becoming a member of the Coldwell Elite team. If you need more information, check with Jay on that. He'll explain that to you. But there are some benefits to doing that, including if you look on Poppy's profile here, I don't think you can see my mouse on your webinar, but in the right-hand corner, it says 5 out of 5 stars with 292 reviews. That's because she's actually part of the Coldwell Elite team, and it promotes it higher because it looks like there's more activity there. So those profiles should be done. You're real satisfied. We send these out on your behalf, but it's up to you to actually promote and use them. And so here's Catherine Rubio, who has 6 customer reviews. She's 5 out of 5, of course, because she's outstanding. And this last one is actually her last one. So not her first one, but the first one you see is the last one received. And think about being a seller who goes to Real Satisfied and sees this. We've worked with Catherine for 2 purchases and 1 sell. She's a pleasure to work with in buying and selling a home. She's knowledgeable, she's polite, she's extremely responsive, and will stand by her clients through the whole process, ensuring that her clients are being treated fairly. As long as she is in business, she will be our agent for home purchases and sales. Thank you, Catherine, from Samantha. Here's what's really cool about that. First of all, you can put that exact language in your bio from the first person or third person. It's nowhere near as impactful as when it comes from clearly a third person here. So some of the things that they've said are what most agents script out in their own bio, yet the consumer is saying it. Secondly, you're given a link to your Real Satisfied profile. Of the Real Satisfied profile and the Zillow and the Realtor, you do not need to rely on your clients to Google and stumble across these things. These are things that should be part of your online bio on your webpage, your pre-meeting email, whatever it is, to send them back so they can see what other people have said about you and their experiences working with you in the past. Additionally, when you get these responses, these should be things that you share on your Facebook page or your Twitter page or wherever to let people know the job you're doing. The next thing about being prepared is thinking about that conversation, setting up the meeting is pretty important. And so I want to start off with this. And I know that I look at this a little differently than a lot of people do. I am not a script person. I have rarely ever listened to someone on the phone who had memorized a script or the quote unquote right thing to say and not been able to pick up that they're scripting me. And I find it off putting. And a lot of the reasons why I see agents gravitating towards scripts, especially for phone calls, is that they're not comfortable talking to clients. They're afraid they're going to forget something or say the wrong thing. Look, if you're going to say something wrong or if you're going to forget something, you're probably going to do it in the real life meeting with them as well. No, you can't sound like a different person on the phone with words somebody else gave you and then sound like just yourself in the meeting. Just be yourself. Have a casual conversation with them. If you forget something, it's okay. It's an excuse to call, text, or email them back and follow up. Hey, by the way, when we were talking, I forgot to ask. I was so engaged in hearing about you and your husband and kids move to Kentucky. I don't know why I picked Kentucky. That was just the first random thing I thought of. That I forgot to ask you, what is your payoff on the home? Or when is your time frame for moving? If you forget something, call them back. It's okay. It lets them know you're still thinking about them. Emphasize partnership. There is a psychology here that I developed years ago, and that is I want the seller to be part of the process, not just in keeping them informed and they always know what's going on, but also I also want them to take responsibility for things. So when I give them my market analysis and their home is worth 220,000, it's going to say their home is worth between 210 and 230,000, and then they get to pick and I probably wouldn't do that high of a range, but you get my point. It gives them a range to choose the high or low and take some responsibility for that choice. Hold on, I got a question here. Okay, so the question is, if I have my choice, should I set up my listing appointment to be the first person they meet with or the last person they meet with? I've heard conflicting arguments, and there are conflicting arguments. There's conflicting ideology about whether or not you should be the first person or the last person in. And so I'm going to tell you my opinion is the first. There's a couple reasons why. If I'm setting an appointment, I have the ability to be in order. If you're the last, they may cancel your appointment. If they fall in love with somebody else, even someone who's not giving them the same service or benefits, but has just wooed them and they don't think anybody's better, they may just cancel your appointment. That's happened to a lot of people who are good agents too many times. Second of all, there's something to be said with setting the bar, right? So you go in there with the toolkit that Coldwell really gives you, with Paradigm, with the skill sets that you have inherently had, and you go in with those combination of things. You set the standard so that no one else can come close. If they do continue, they're just disappointed when they meet them. That gives them some clarity of mind when they choose you, and it's not going like they want to. It's not selling quick enough. They don't see you doing open houses because you don't do them or whatever. There's less thought in their mind of what if. What if I had gone with somebody else? They got to see that you were different after they interviewed those people. So good question. Okay, don't stress. If you forget, call back. Ask them some questions you do want to try to get over the phone so you're better prepared when you meet with them. Why are you selling? How much is the payoff? Who are all the decision makers? This question opens up opportunities. So if I get a call from Julie, and I'm just making up names, and Julie says, hey, can you come meet with me this weekend? I want to sell our home. And I go, great. Who else has an ownership decision? Who else has influence in what agent you're going to choose in selling the home? Well, this actually happened to me. My husband and I are not getting along very well. I'm getting ready to tell him that we're divorcing, and I want to have an idea what the house is worth in my mind before I tell him. So that means I didn't have both decision makers, and I'll save the rest of that story for another class. But I didn't have both decision makers, and there's going to be a conflict, and it's going to be maybe challenging, and I may be just being used for a CMA instead of an actual serious appointment. Doesn't mean I don't take it. It just means I know what I'm getting into when I go on that appointment. I've also had more than a few instances where husband and wife want to sell, but mom and dad gave them money or have an interest in it, or mom and dad are on the mortgage or co-signers. I need mom and dad at that point too. I've got to wow everybody who has decisions in this process long term and the initial set down, not just because mom and dad are happy to sign off because their kid found the agent. They all need to be there and involved. What is their past experiences with agents? Have they sold before? How long ago? What did they like? What did they dislike? How do they prefer to be contacted here on out? Do you prefer phone, email, text, carrier pigeon? What else? And then remember, you're not going to close them on the phone. This is not your opportunity to convert them. The only thing you need to convert on this phone call with the seller is to make sure you get that appointment. That's your only intent here. Getting them to love you and list with you over the phone is going to come across as insincere and pushy. It is really, this phone call to set up the interview is simply to sell the interview and the fact that they absolutely have to meet with you because you're going to give them something nobody else is. A couple things to look at before the meeting. And these are quick searches, so don't get wrapped around the axles with, oh my God, there's so much work that needs to be done. Nobody ever has time for this. It really is a seamless thing. Google the address and Google the sellers to see if there's anything unique or dangerous about this, anything that doesn't line up you should know about. Go to Zillow, and I'm going to tell you, before you meet the buyer or seller, you should always go check out Zillow because they have. You need to see how either accurate or inaccurate Zillow is. Now, not so much Realtor, there's not as much traffic there, there's not as much dependency in that system as there is on Zillow. But you want to know what they know. And so if you're walking in and you're coming in with comps that show the house is worth $500,000, but Zillow shows it at $600,000, you know what battle you're going to have to overcome. And again, during the interview techniques, we'll talk about how to overcome that and do that well. But you need to know going in. You need to look at tax records. Is it in their name? Is their name correct? There's a lot of times there's misunderstanding. The wife may think she's on the tax records, but she wasn't. Or the husband maybe think he's on the tax record, he wasn't. Or they got married after one of the others bought it, and you have to have a conversation as to how does that impact the selling of the home and the signing of contracts, or does it even impact that? You need to look at prior listings. Have they listed for some crazy amount before? Why didn't it sell? How long was it on the market? Who did they list with? If you've got an agent who is not particularly good, or even vice versa, particularly good, but they couldn't get it done, what things didn't get it done? Were there crappy pictures? Was there a bad description? What was going on there? You need to know what the prior MLS was and how long ago they tried it. The Realtor Property Resource and CBX. So I'm going to get out of the slide deck here. We're going to take a look at this real quick. So I want to look at the Realtor Property Resource. So I'm going to look at 9 Fox Run Lane, Virginia. Oh, maybe I'm not. You know what? Maybe it's a Fredericksburg address, isn't it? All right. So we're going to look at 9 Fox Run Lane. If you guys didn't know this, this is Kevin Breen's house. And so there it is, Kate and Kevin Breen, 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, because, you need to have more bathrooms than you do places to sleep. It's about 3,500 square feet, and the NAR, RPR estimated value is about $460,510. And I happen to know that he's done a lot of work. It actually looks a little nicer now than this. It's always been a nice house, but he's done some stuff to make it look even better. So I know there's some upgrades, and I can start going through on the RPR report here and add the correct information. So let's say there's 4 bedrooms instead of 3, and whatever. You can see, you can make your adjustments here. You can actually use this as a preliminary and quick market analysis, but more so, it gives you more information than RPR does. It shows you the schools, what they're rated, if they've got ratings here. You can look over here and quickly see about this house, what the estimated home value is for the area, how it compares. So in this case, their estimated home value is $460. So I can look over here and see that $460 is pretty high. It's much higher than the median price for that area for even the state. I can see what the estimated home value is. It's actually increased 4.4% in that zip code over the past year. And then I can go through and just look at information about the marketplace in that area and see how this is going to compete and better prepare myself. And you can see how quickly I can get that information. I can look at again, for this home, the estimated cost, what it's been doing over time since 2006. That is a horrible, scary time for everybody. Um, does it line up? Is there, gas, and what's the basement, and is it finished? All this information here that's, in my opinion, easier to find and much better information than MLS offers. And then click here and look at the history of it. And I can get financial information, I can get assessment information, I can get mortgage records information too. All right. And you can get this on everybody. And I know some people get a little freaked out to know that their mortgage stuff's online, but there's not a lot of privacy in this world anymore. All right. I can get full chart information. Right. Again, lots and lots of statistics and numbers. Comp analysis and neighborhood, and then I can create a report. And this should be a report you probably either send ahead to the client or that you hang on to. All right, and I'm going to have this, I'm going to download it. So I'm just going to run report. It takes a few minutes for that to happen, so it's going to generate that report. All right, and so that's the first thing I'm going to do, look at the RPR. The next thing is pull up my CBX. And so I'm going to go through CBX a little later in the webinar. I'm going to let that report come out, and I'll show you what it looks like in just a minute. Okay, so again, Google, Zillow, tax records, MLS, RPR, and CBX. This is like a 5-minute, maybe, quick search because you have access to all this stuff already. Also, on elitescoop.com/docs, we have already created some pre-listing meeting checklists, some things to help you remember the stuff that we've talked about. Now, we have added a few tools since this one was done back in May 2015, but there's plenty of links for you to add your own stuff. And I have posted this on elitescoop.com/docs. If you don't have the password to that, go check with your broker or your admin. They'll be able to give it to you. I don't want to record it on the video here because who knows who's going to see it. But you can go grab that in Word format so you can edit them on your own for future use. Then swing by the house, take a quick picture. So these are the things we're doing before. I like going by the house, taking a picture, and you can do it on your iPhone. This isn't going to be a promotional photo. But when I do go and create the market analysis or slides or brochures or things, depending on the value of the house, it's good to have one good picture that's current of what it looks like to use in that marketing. And it also shows you did a little extra work before the meeting to check out the property. And then we get to setting up appointments. So that's some of the pre-appointment stuff we're going to do. The next one is setting up an appointment. So 9 times out of 10, it's very simple. Hey, can you meet Saturday night at 6 o'clock at your house to go through, or 5 o'clock or whatever? And they say yes. If it's any more complicated than that, if it's, well, I need to get my mom and dad involved, or you're an agent who has a team and you need to get them involved and create the calendar, there are some great apps like Doodle. Doodle allows you to put out a few dates and say, hey, I've got these 3 dates. So let's say I'm talking to Mr. Jones about selling his home. And I say, hey, can we meet on Saturday at 6 o'clock? And he goes, I need to check with my wife first. I can say, great, why don't you give me her email address? I'll send out some available times and dates. So if Saturday at 6 isn't the best for you, I'll have a few other ones that you can vote on. Doodle's free and allows me to send out to Mrs. Jones, Mr. Jones, and myself a couple dates and times that are available, and everybody can vote, and we'll pick the one that comes up with the most votes. It's automated. It sends out reminders. It's pretty cool. The next thing is a pre-meeting email, and I've talked about this for a long time, so it shouldn't be a new concept to you, just a reminder to do this. And mine updates a lot. Matter of fact, I'm in the middle of rewriting it now. Just yesterday, I was adding a few things to it. The pre-meeting emails are signatures I save in my in Outlook. So when you go to your emails, if you've saved it under signatures, you click on signatures, and it opens up a dialog box and say my pre-listing signature, and it just adds it. If you're like me, you feel like you send the same email out over and over and over again. This is a way to fine tune it and make sure you get everything you want and just save it so that you can use it for every seller. And these links also change. So for example, there is an app called Home Selfie that I want to add to my email that allows them to download and categorize and itemize any smart home devices or Echo upgrades, or do they have solar panels, and what's the rebate cost and all that, to let them stay busy before I get there. Again, giving them a gift of a few apps or tools and a few things to do so that we're mutually invested in our meeting when we come up, and it just shows that you're more together. The other thing I like about this is I ask them to write a letter to potential buyers about their home. so that they send it to me hopefully before the meeting, which means I know what to reflect on when I'm in the house because I figured out what they love or a little bit about who they are. And you can tell a whole lot about someone's writing style if you listen carefully or read carefully enough. So I like asking them for that and getting stuff together. Again, I want them to have some time invested in this appointment and to show that I'm organized and I'm a professional and these are the things I do differently to keep them on track. So this is a confirmation as to when, where, and what time we're meeting, and then a request for a few things, and then a few things in return that I give them, including the link to Real Satisfied if they want to see what other clients have said, including a link to my website and my bio if they want to get to know me a little bit before the meeting. These are all that pre-meeting meeting stuff where I can let them know about where they can find out more so they don't have to go hunt it down or maybe skip over something I find important or positive. Also, a resume. When you go to a job appointment, you should have a resume. So Canva has some amazing resume templates you can fill in the blank. The one I'm actually using here is for me as an instructor for people who call up and want to know my background when they are going to do when I'm booked for a session or something. You don't need to have even a 2-page one as an agent. Just 1 page is fine. So the company you're with or how long you've been in the business, a quick, simple bio, your contact information, and a few skills, or if you have designations and types of things that you may want to put on there. 1 page is fine. It doesn't have to be extensive rather. But Canva templates resumes has some great stuff you can fill in the blank. It makes it look contemporary and cool to if you don't have that eye for it. All right, so that's some of those are a few of the things to get prepared and have ready for you for that appointment. And even again, if your website should be your resume, but it's just one more thing to show that this is a business and you're professional to have that there in front of them and let them take a look at it. All right, so stuff to take with you. Now, again, my premise here is that a well-prepared, squared-away agent, is going to do a much better job and be much more at ease when they go into the appointment than someone who is scattered. All right, hold on a second. I'm just checking some text here, make sure that I can be heard. Oh, cool. So Kelly has a entire room full of people. Now I am completely unnerved because there's so many people listening and watching. I better make this good. Okay, thank you for making me nervous. No, by the way, guys, I'm not nervous. We're cool. Okay, people watching, take a deep breath. No. All right, so stuff that you need to take with you. These are things that have to be prepared so that you mentally, so much of what we do as caretakers, salespeople, consultants, all those roles we have, means that we're expected to have our stuff together. And if you don't, if you are off kilter, if you're running in there with your arms full of papers that are falling all over the place and you don't have answers, or you say, I didn't have time to get that together for you, or you don't seem professional, you're going to lose the opportunity. Even if they like you, they're going to go to someone who seems to have their stuff together more. So here's a few things to take with you. The first one is CBX always. So now, for those who've been CBX users for a while, we're using it primarily on our iPads, our mobile apps, our mobile devices. And it was fine. It was great, honestly. It's super easy to use and it's awesome. But CBX got some stuff added to it, and they also now allow you to go and edit it on coldwellbanker.com. So we're going to take a quick field trip there, but hopefully by now most of you have taken the in-services that Angel and others have given. But you want to have this stuff already set up. So all you have to do is plug in some comps in the home and then be done with it. So let's go look at the web page. And it's cloud-based, which means if I am setting it up here and I'm logged into my iPad, it's the same presentation. So I'm going to go to edit. And I've already got one that I use for training that's already set up here. This is, again, one of the this is one of the things that you can set up very easily early on. And they have some pre-done slides here, and then you can also add some. Pretty soon we're going to be able to add some as a company for everybody, but for right now, it's kind of up to you. This is another good reason to have swung by the house and taken a quick picture on your phone or wherever to get that information out there. So I'm going to go here, and you can see I can choose in CBX which slides I do and don't want, and then I can edit the ones that I want. Now the agent information page, and I think I'm right about this. Now that I'm saying it out loud, we'll have to double check. That the agent information is actually being pulled from CB Exchange. So when you went into CB Exchange and updated your bio for Zap and all the rest, this agent information slide is already pulled from there, so that you don't have to come in and keep editing it. You go into CB Exchange and do it once, and then all the information is accurate there. And then I can go to listings, and if I push this little orange button here, there's actually a video that tells me what I need to do and how to use the slide. So it's got some onboard tutorials, but I'm going to click on edit here. All right, and I can go to edit, and it'll allow me to go in and start adding stuff about the company or different photos or different things I want to add that is unique to me. I can go look at the home buyer profile information, and I can say, do I want to include this information or not? So if I look and say, I don't want to include information in my slide that says that median commute time is 35 minutes. Remember, this is all big data information. This is a collection of data that has come from multiple sources to pull into our system and populate our slides for us, showing who our consumer is and being able to chat with our consumers about what this does. And again, this is not a CBX class, nor do I have time for it, so I'm going to quickly go through a few things to show you how easy it is to set up, and then you can decide if you need more training or want to do webinars or reach out to the marketing team for more insight. One of the things I do deselect in here is that for some quirky reason, they pull in that Dare County, presumably North Carolina, is where people move to Spotsylvania from. Not sure where that came from, but I've just went ahead and removed it so I don't have to talk about it to consumers, leaving me with all the other information, which is pretty useful. And when I get to this slide, again, this is stuff you should know in your head before you meet with them, so that when I set up the presentation or the documents for, for my future meeting, I don't have to go do an edit on this anymore. But you can look here and say, okay, in 22407, about 18% of the people here are considered soccer moms. You click the little I for information, and it'll tell you what that means. What is a soccer mom, quote unquote, defined as here? And again, this is also pretty impactful when you're going to a listing appointment at Coldwell Banker Buyers, just on our website, just on our franchise website. In the past 14 days, we've had 5,821 inquiries to listings, right? So that's pretty good. All right, so this is our CB Intelligence. It talks about what's going on. And then growth rates, I don't really care about, so I deselect that. And then you can log in with your own LinkedIn account, and it'll pull job information and stuff. For some reason, mine deselected, but you should have that connected. I'm not sure mine is today. Anyways, and then I can go and talk about what I'm going to do, what's unique about me and my marketing plan, and I can add those in there. This is all stuff that you do once, set it, forget it, right? And then what web pages you're using, which is all of them. Okay, and then I can add my own slide, my own information. These are actually all my own photos that came off of my iPad, and I can choose that for the house and add information if I want to. That is simply for the property you're going to, so that would be the only slide you'd have to do. And then I can add what I think the price range is for that particular seller on this slide. All right, and so then I've got my slide deck already, and that very few, you can see there was only really 2 slides I had to change to make it unique to the property, and you don't have to make it unique to the property every time. So you can have this generally set up. Once I set this up on the web page, it's always on my iPad. So as long as my iPad is with me, or your tablet of any type that has the app, or your laptop or whatever you're taking in there, you've always are ready for presentation. So if someone called me right now at 10:41 and said, can you meet me at 1 o'clock? I need to talk about selling my home. My presentation's ready, except for a slide that's unique to the property, and I would simply omit that and just not talk about it in the slide deck. I would come back to them and email them that information later on. And then again, I can choose custom slides where I can edit and add information, in global luxury if you're doing high-end properties over 750,000, and I can check and see which ones I want to use. So that is truly about 20% of what CBX does, but I just wanted to show you that those things can all be set up and then saved. So I just go and add a new presentation. It'll bring in and import all the stuff I did from the previous presentation, and all my custom stuff will be there. except for the 2 slides that talk specifically about the house in question. And that's it. So all you have to do is go add those 2 things the next time you're going to an appointment. All right, that's CBX. Also, this is totally up to you if you're that kind of person. I'm this kind of person. When I was listing and selling, I had a personal brochure. I usually dropped it off at barber shops or cork boards or wherever I can put it. And it was very simple, just getting your name and picture out there. But you can go create those if you're so inclined at Canva templates brochures. Again, these links will be on the webpage after the class for follow-up. And this one was done literally in 10 minutes using a template on Canva to have one. And I do like stuffing them in my listing brochure pack or folders when I go into the appointment, just so they can see that, I'm professional. I got this stuff going on. Okay, we being Angel and I are going today to pick up our brand new Elite Edge brochures, and we're pretty happy with them. So the brochure is a reflection of all the stuff that is automatically done on your behalf by CBE. So you can have a couple of these in your car. There'll be a bunch of them going out to the offices and put in your mailbox in the next week or two. And it reflects on all the tools we already do for you, so that if you had a impromptu listing appointment, you don't have to fret. You don't have to put together this complicated packet for marketing. You can walk in and right there in your hand, you're going to have this nice bifold brochure. It's a little different than the last one. The green and blue one we've been using was a little outdated, and Angel went a little bit more contemporary and modern with this one, although I thought the last one still looked good. And we reworded some stuff. These are your talking points for you as an agent. We'll get into Cloud CMA in just a minute. Cloud CMA is getting a facelift too. The color scheme font plan that you see here, the marketing plan, will be reflected on there so it all matches. This is your go-to when you're talking to the seller to show them what you're doing. You don't have either an ugly or non-existence marketing plan. You've got a nice package one right here. Keep a couple of these in your car, stuff them in every appointment so that you can sit down and go through each of these items. You do need to be familiar with what these things are, but they're pretty straightforward. Majority of this is pulled right from Paradigm. Again, we're trying to make everything simpler for you and put it in one place. And also you're going to want your market analysis and your Cloud CMA. Now, all of you so there's almost 50 of you, if not 50 of you, taking actually more than that, because there's a lot of you in classrooms too. So we're probably talking about 65, 70 people here. For my new agents, understand that I don't know a single even experienced agent who is justifiably, anyways, comfortable with every market analysis. We are all scratching around, finding the right comps and doing the math and all the things. This is not a CMA class. If you're uncomfortable with CMAs, schedule time with your broker to have them train you how to do a proper CMA. It's important, but understand that there's still a tremendous amount of my best guess is going on, but so are the appraisers. So there's a little bit of science, and a lot of it's just a little bit of intuition about the value of things based on comparable properties in the subdivision. Sometimes it's harder than others. Believe me, I've taken 4 days to do a CMA because it's impossible to find comps for this home because it's just too unique. And so I told the seller, here's my gut. Here's what I think it's worth. And now I'm going to go back and make sure I got a packet ready for the appraiser when we get a buyer. But Cloud CMA, again, right now you see the green and blue. It still looks good. It's just going to be more contemporary in the future. You don't have to worry about it. You can use what's in there right now, and we'll let you know when it gets updated. A couple things about Cloud CMA. First, I got some questions about this the other day. On my webpage, there is a link for the seller to go to my webpage, and I mentioned this earlier, to go to my webpage and find out the estimated valuation of their house before we even meet. If you go to lead gen, go to Cloud CMA and then lead gen, I'll bring this up a little bit, click on the lead gen one. There's a link for what's my home worth. In this link, and there's a video of how you can use it. I have linked to a button on my website. So let me go to, okay, so I'm going to sellers here. Excuse me, and then I've got this graphic here that's actually linked. Check out the house value. And when they click that, it actually goes to the landing page that is unique to me through Cloud CMA, which we have given all of you here, that says what's my home worth, and then they can type out their address and they hit submit. You, the agent, get an email saying this inquiry has been made. They get an automated report with comps and some very non-committal numbers. And now they also go in the lead part of Cloud CMA to work with later on. And I'm going to come back to this. All right, so that's where the lead gen is, and you can also have some embed codes if you're getting kind of fancy. I think most people just want the link. You could just link it in an email if you really wanted to. All right, so I go to Cloud CMA. I'm sorry, didn't mean to go that. Go to settings, go to custom pages, and custom pages are pages already built into your CMA. We've got a lot of company generated stuff there already, but you can create new pages to add, and then you can click down here, and here are the pages in Cloud CMA you can already edit. And so again, my bio information, my bullet pointed bio information is here for my resume that exists in this. You can upload custom PDF. So if you created your own PDF you want in your Cloud CMA, like you have this thing you really like to go over and you really think is important, you can add it yourself through custom PDF pages and be able to run a single report. Now, when I go into my CMAs, let me just find one. Here's training one. So I have done my listing, pulled over my numbers, pulled over my comps. Again, this is not there. We have the Cloud CMA tutorials posted on the Elite Scoop webpage, which, by the way, let me just do a little shout out to this because I did this last weekend. We've been getting a call for pretty much the entire time real estate's been a thing for more simplified stuff. So if you go to Elite Scoop Resources now, I re-updated the page. When you land there, first and foremost, there's a technology hotline you can call and get help with your real estate tools, resources, computers, whatever. They're patient, they're awesome, they know real estate, give them a call. If you need help internally and locally, extension 777 on your phone app, your CBE phone app, or you can email help@cbev.com. Poppy has put a quick start guide for agents who are joining us here. And then we've gotten rid of all the buttons and all the extra stuff to make it more simple. So now there's a heading and there's a tool that you need for each thing. So we've gotten rid of stuff that we didn't see a lot of people using or more outdated and just focused on a fewer things. And you can click here and get tutorials and information based on section, right? Okay, back to my show. So in Cloud CMA, when I go to set up and customize, I want to get everything in the right order. So for me, I want the cover sheet. We give you 3 options of cover sheets under custom. So the custom pages or CBE things that have been set up. And I want to get all that in order. I'm going to then save the order. So let's say that lead router, I want to put further down here. It's less important to me. I don't know that it is, but I want to put that here. I just drag and drop it. About you, the client letter. About CBE is the company. Cover letter is one that you can create under custom pages. So I have the pre-meeting email. So I have this in here and I can change it if I wish to be a cover letter or a pre-listing email. All right, and then if I still want to edit it, it'll automatically populate their name that you put in elsewhere. I could change fonts and layouts or whatever, but I'm going to go ahead and save this. Oops. I'm going to add a report, and this is going to be CBE Matthew 2018. All right, and so I've renamed this. This is now any CMA I do from this point on will have all these documents included in this order, and I can create as many as I want. So I may have one for global luxury. I may have one for relo. I may have one for land investment or investors, or just save those templates based on what's important to them. And I'm going to hit save. So now when I go back and I'm doing my CMA and I've added my numbers, I get to customize. All I need to do is come down here to one click, add CBE Matthew, and it's going to add the pages I like and the order I like with the content I like and publish report. So now this takes the CMA. Once you've found 3 or 4 comms, this is a maybe 5-minute process of setting up a new market analysis. And then I can hit publish, and then I can either, I didn't add the reports, so anyways. And then I can either print it out to take with me in my appointment, which I do suggest you do, or I can email it to them as a PDF. And if I need to update it, if I need to put new comps in there after seeing the property, I can send it back there as well. Okay, Switching gears, so I'm leaving Cloud CMA for a minute. Again, this is an overview in this class of getting this stuff ordered, organized, and ready before the meeting. If you want to dig down deep into this, either schedule time with marketing staff or get with your brokers. They're all familiar with these products and can help you out, walk through them. Again, so I don't want to leave you hanging here. We've got webinars, we've got brokers, we've got staff, lots of people to help you with those. And then RPR, here's the RPR property report. Remember we clicked this earlier on Kevin's house? And it gives you an estimated range. There could be adjustments or things it didn't account for. And unlike Zillow, it actually says, this is our best guess based on not visiting the house kind of thing. And then here's the page for my home facts. Here's extended home facts. Here's property reports, data. This is going to be printed out with my Cloud CMA. Unfortunately, right now, Cloud CMA doesn't have all this. So I'm going to pull it. All right. And then I've got schools and school ratings and all this stuff to help me chat with the seller. Now, one of the things you can do if you want to be particularly crafty, do one of these neighborhood reports in RPR and upload that as a custom PDF in your Cloud CMA. So you're gearing in a book. Now, here's the thing. Some of the feedback we get a lot from you guys is, I'm going to go in there with 10 different things in my for my seller and it's going to freak them out. You're going to leave that stuff behind. That's why they're called leave behinds. It's for them to flip through and put something tangible in their hands to see your branding and see your face and see what you've done differently and see who you are, as opposed to the other agent who came in with 9 comps on a piece of paper from MLS and said, here, let's pick the ones that look like your home. And it's professional and it gives them some stuff. They may never read it. The point is to put it in their hand and give you talking points to flip through when it's time to chat with them. All right, so that's Cloud CMA. The other tool to have ready before the meeting is closeit.mris.com. So this is a really kick-ass tool from MRIS, and I use it a lot. Although I did a listing appointment last week, and I accidentally typed in my commission was $20 million. I wish it was $20 million. I did have to send a correction because Angel caught it for me after I'd already sent it to the sellers, of course. So here's the quick and down and dirty. So I'm going to take a listing. Let's say it's 450,000. Let's say we're listing property here, Virginia. It's in Stafford. All right, that's the sales price. Settlement date doesn't matter. Property type, single family, HELOC, first loan payoff. Let's say they owe 240,000 on the property. Closing cost is going to be 3% of whatever 460 is. Let's just say they ask for 1%. So let's say they ask for, I don't know. Yeah, let's just say they ask for 1%. So $4,500. Right, and then 375 for our base commission. We're going to do this at 6% because why would you not? Termite 75, home warranty 650, no HOA, and they're not subject to FERPTA. All right, and I hit this, and then automatically I get the report that says, hey, by the way, you're going to make 175,736. Everything's populated. Now, oftentimes we do see the tax numbers. The tax numbers are wrong. So let's say this is only 1,200. All right, anything in red I can edit, and then I can save it. So I can come back and edit it again. I can print it or as a PDF, or I can email it directly to them. I'm going to set this up. I'm not going to email it to them because once I set it up, I can log into the app. And if you're getting the app, go look for it. Make sure it says MRIS Close It app, not the regular Close It app, because MRIS has already created an account for you and added all your tax records and average costs across the board for everything in MLS. And now I can sit there with my iPad right in front of them and very quickly, as you saw, type in 3 or 4 numbers and give them an estimated cost sheet that is far more accurate than the other stuff we've seen everybody else using, or the one you have to do all the math for on a piece of paper in zip forms. So having, again, this ready before the meeting gives you an idea of what they're going to make and whether your numbers are close to the ratio. Ratios are close, rather. And you can email it from your app. So you can ask the seller, hey, we're meeting based on the numbers you gave me, based on what I think the house is worth. Here's what I think your net proceeds are. Let me email this report to you. And it gives them a nice, cool, well-designed report very quickly. All right. So again, that's Close It. That's an app you want to make sure you have on your, something's messed up with my screen here. Okay, we're just going to go on this way. So Close It is something that we hope you have on your mobile device. It should be on your iPhone, your iPad, your Android device, wherever you can find that. Plus, you can get there from a web page to set this up in the front end. And then make sure you have your listing agreement. We always assume the sale. I have changed my mind over the years because the world has changed. I used to be very much a two-step person. When we go back to the house, I don't do that anymore. We pretty much are going to do everything at the table, at their house. I don't have as much work to do. Market analysis can be something I email to them as a follow-up. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, we looked at your house online. We looked at what Zillow said. We looked at what RPR said. We did our own statistics. We assumed a certain amount of work was done or customization. Do this, assume low when you walk in there, but not crazy low. And then tell them there's some things we want to fine tune to reflect if the house needs to be updated or you've updated the house, whatever. We'll send you a more accurate CMA in the next 2 days. Okay. So that's our listing agreement. So bring your listing agreement with you and assume the sale in case they do want to sign there. Just a note, and we're going to talk about listing agreements and execution in another module, but I just want to put this out there. It is not a signed agreement if you leave anything blank or to be determined. So the date is going to be marketed, the sales price, all that should not be to be determined. If you don't know that information at the listing table, do it in zip form and send it over to DocuSign when you have the accurate information. It's not a ratified agreement or personal services agreement without having complete information. The reason I recommend bringing it to the table is the seller may have questions about what they're going to sign in the future. You can review on the table with them at their house and then send them a nice typed up version later on. But if they're in a hurry, you just have it right there. All right. So that's it. That's just stuff you have to have, or you should have and do. Honestly, preparing for a listing, if you have all these tools already set up in time, is a 45-minute to an hour process because you have to print everything out. You should have everything pre-done so you can focus on filling the blanks in a few things and then have your right mind so when you're going to the house, you got all that stuff there. I will tell you that a couple months ago, I was going to a listing appointment and something in my head popped and I wanted to change something on the price range I was going to give them. I remembered some other evaluation or something. At a stoplight, I pulled up my iPad, opened it up, changed 2 things on the CBX app, and walked in the door completely ready. So I didn't have stuff printed out I had to change or anything else. I had stuff printed out, but not what needed to be changed. But one PDF with a few pages. We don't charge you for printing, so don't worry about it. Print it here, bind it, or put it in a pack, and then walk out the door with it. So there's more to this. Today's session was solely on the things you can get in order to take some stress off of you and make sure that you have the complete toolkit with you. We're going to be doing, again, this is one of a 6-part series. The next one is Listing Hunt, where we give you a bunch of ideas on where to find new listings and new information. That's on February 9th at 10 a.m. This session will be after we're done. The recording will be rendered and doctored up a little bit. And then I will be posting it on elitescoop.com/listing leader so that you can go there and get more information. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up with that's why my screen's screwed up. There we go. So we're going to be doing some more stuff for you guys and putting some more information out. So stay tuned to that. I want to go now. There's a bunch of questions, so I'm going to try to get to those, and you can ask some more questions if you wish. All right. I don't think this shows up, so I'm going to move it over here. All right, first question. Is there someone in-house that is able to help us update our Playstore websites? Okay, so our staff does not do the work for you. It's just simply they're too busy. There's 300 of you, so we're not going to do the work for you. However, there are tons of tutorials to do it, and we do have people who will answer questions. So if you have any questions, reach out to Jay Parrish. Again, if you have questions about any of this, if you go to, all right, hopefully you can still hear me. I just knocked over my microphone. If you can still hear me, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, it looks like I'm on a different mic, but that's fine. Either way, Okay. For some reason, people like to yell in my office, so sorry about the background noise. All right. The go to resources. All right. So when you go to resources and you're asking about Playster, for example, so I'm going to go down to let's see, and marketing Playster. All right, and when you see Playster, you'll see all the tutorials, the resources, the help, the videos that we've done on how to get it up and running. And like, for example, there's a video, I think I did this one, on how to add your cloud CMA, what's my homework to Playster. There's all information. When you scroll to the very bottom, you'll see whatever staff member is responsible for that app. There's their picture, there's their name, there's their contact information. So you can reach out to them if you have questions, if you get stuck. Most of it's pretty straightforward. There's lots of help. Also, is there someone in-house able to assist with making our professional video? No. The answer is just no. We don't do those. We do some company videos. Um, uh, and honestly, I tell you what we're doing now for our professional videos. We are using our iPhones, sitting in front of them, talking for a minute, and then using Adobe.Spark, actually Spark.Adobe, which is free, to edit them and post them. You don't want super polished, high quality videos because it doesn't fit the genre of YouTube. You just want regular videos of you chatting with your clients. But if you do want those high professional things, you do want those type of videos, HD Bros does them. There's actually, going back to the resources page, if you go to marketing resources in an area of photographers, excuse me, I have put together a list of information and some of the photographers and videographers, but I've also put a comparison chart together that tells you which of those companies will actually do agent profile videos for you and how much they cost, how long it takes to get you that information, what areas they serve, all the rest. And I put it together, but then blamed Angel for it by putting her information on here. So we have resources for people who help with to do that, but guys, it's really not that complicated. You just put the iPhone or the regular phone in front of you, you chat for a while and go from there. All right. We do have backgrounds though. We do have lighting kits downtown, and honestly, the living room is awesome. We'll help you with this stuff. We'll help you get the room set up. But we've got good backgrounds with Call Maker Elite stuff in blue, and you certainly want to make sure you're promoting your company, your brand, and the company you're with. We have room, we have lights, we have equipment. So we'll get that to you if you need it. But we don't have a professional editor or anybody who does videography. There's some other people out there. All right, let's see. Who can we talk about having our agent info added to the agent info in CBX? Mine is currently blank. Yes, please make sure that you have updated your information in CB Exchange to make sure it's there. And also you can edit the individual app data in the app itself when you get to profile information and stuff there. So take a look at that, and then you should be able to adjust there. And if it gets stuck, like if it's just broke or something wrong with it, again, you're going to go to elitescoop.com/resources. Under listing management, go to CBX. And when you scroll to the bottom of CBX, you'll see the point of contacts for CBX is Angel. All right, let's see. And there's a correction to that. All right. When you mentioned making sure your client's name is correct on their tax record, what if the tax record name is incorrect at the top, but further down it is changed or misspelled? All right, so that is a data entry thing at the courthouse. Your client needs to reach out to the tax assessor's office and point that out. And normally what we're seeing is tax records are generally with about 30 days of correction. In a lot of areas, sometimes it's overnight. If you're in Stafford, Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, more rural areas, about 30 days to see the correction. It's not material. As long as it's pretty close, it really has no impact on what we're doing. You just have to make sure it's correct on the deed when the settlement company turns the deed over to the buyer. So make sure you send over a correction for them. And then Sandy says, FAR could be offering agent videos in the future. They're working on it. So, okay, good to know. It's a good agent. But yeah, some of the other associations have been talking about this for a while too. So I think there probably would be, because there'll be bulk, there's some opportunities. Here's my thing. Whether it's FAR or even movement, and you know how much I love movement, you want to make sure it's your branding. Some of the things we've seen before has been, even if it's the association, having the association backdrop maybe confusing to consumers who don't know what FAR is. You want to make sure you have nice, clean outside, tends to be the best, by the way. Just make sure that when you do that, if FAR offers that or any other group offers that, that you are asking for your branding or a blank background, um, not promoting somebody else. Again, and that can be Movement or FAR or your favorite settlement company, whomever. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, okay. This is a good point too. There's a reporting document that's in your docs section for Shaheen. If you are in Fredericksburg, if you're listing rather, it's in Fredericksburg, Stafford, Spotsylvania, because those records are automated, or further north, points further north. Um, Part of your listing, once you get the listing, we talk about that in other sessions, is to ask them to do a title search in the background to make sure there's no conflicts or things that may exist. So again, make sure you're using Shaheen. This is free to you and your sellers. And we've had instances, we should probably get those testimonials written up, but we've had instances where agents have had Shaheen run those and they found problems early on. So instead of finding them 4 days before closing, Shaheen was finding them at the time of listing to get it resolved before buyers even walked in the door. Great point. All right, let's see what other questions we have. Chat section. Okay, great. I think that's everything. So again, I thank you guys so much for your time and investing in this. And if you would share with other people in your office about the sessions, if you do have any other questions or follow up, you guys all know how to get a hold of me. Feel free to send me off an email. I'll be happy to get back to it. Thanks again and have a great day.